So your chain and sprocket are shot. Hey, it happens, but it means you get to flush fresh links and new gears. I'll show you how to replace them in this video from the MC Garage. As a rule, you want to replace your chain and sprockets as a set. Throwing a new chain on used sprockets is going to wear out your new chain prematurely, and the same goes for putting new sprockets on a used chain. Swapping out your chain and sprockets isn't complicated, but you will need a rear stand, tools to remove your rear wheel as well as your front and rear sprockets, and a chain tool. I'm using Motion Pro's PBR tool. It costs about 90 bucks and you can use it to break the old chain as well as rivet the new master link. Of course, every bike's going to be a little bit different, but the basic order of operations is this. Loosen the front sprocket, remove the old chain, replace the sprockets, and finally install the new chain. You're probably wondering why I'm starting with the front sprocket. Well, that sucker is torqued on there really tight, and if you don't have a huge impact gun, you're going to need the bike's transmission and the rear brake to keep the sprocket from turning. If you don't have one of these, now's a good time to bring your assistant in. So, with your bike in gear, take your breaker bar with your socket on it, and have your assistant stand on the rear brake. Now lay into that nut with all of your strength. It may be necessary to put an extension on the breaker bar. Hopefully this one comes free easily. Yes! Success! With the front sprocket loose, put the transmission in neutral, put your bike up on a rear stand, and put on some latex gloves, because it's time to remove your old chain. Follow the instructions that came with your tool to push a link out of the chain and break it. I'm going to work on the chain at the rear sprocket because it's more stable here. With the pin removed, you can now pull the old chain off the bike. Now we're going to remove the rear wheel and change the rear sprocket. This R1 has a really wide tire, so I'm not worried about the rotor touching the work surface, but if you're working on a narrower wheel, you might want to prop it up on 2x4s to ensure that the brake disc doesn't touch anything. Now swap your sprockets, and don't forget to tighten the nuts to the torque recommended in your owner's manual. With your new sprocket installed, you can go ahead and reinstall the rear wheel, but leave the axle loose because you're still going to need to set the tension on your new chain. Putting wheels on can be a little frustrating, but just keep at it, and if the axle doesn't want to go in, just hit it harder. Remove the nut that we cracked free earlier and slide on your new sprocket. Depending on the torque spec that's required for this sucker, you may be able to torque it by simply putting the bike in gear, or you might have to wait until you've installed the chain and then call your buddy back from his beer break so that he can stand in the rear brake and you can torque the nut. Okay, new chain time. Most chains come pre-cut to the length for your bike, but if you ordered a long chain, say 110 links when your bike needs 108, you're going to need to cut it down to length. Double and then triple check the length, and then break the chain just like you did with your old one. Route your new chain and then leave the ends to overlap on the rear sprocket. Prepare yourself a clean work surface and then open up the master link package. Apply the supplied grease to the pins and O-rings and then assemble the parts, pressing the side plates into plate using your chain tool. Now it's time to rivet the master link. Without the appropriate chain tool, there is no safe way to rivet a master link. You can use a clip type master link, but they are not as safe and definitely not recommended. To rivet this master link, we're going to evenly deform the ends of the exposed pins. Tighten your tool down a little bit at a time and check frequently. Make sure you don't tighten it so much that you crack the ends of the rivets. Okay, with the master link properly riveted, all we need to do now is set our chain tension based on the information in our manual and we're good to go. If you want to know how to take care of your new chain, make sure to check out our chain maintenance video and check back in 2 weeks for more tips from the MC Garage.